should.
I was just thinking about when I played with Taking Back Emo and the bass was in drop D.
Yeah, it's really threw you off. What I think was the funniest thing about that, for me personally, was after like that alt press article came out, that I was like, you know, the last two bands that Adam Siska's played with were Fall Out Boy and fucking me.
And the same song too.
Yeah, the same fucking song. So I was like, ooh, that's actually...
It was nice. It actually kind of got me, like, not that song needs a whole lot of, like, refreshing on. But it was nice. Like, doing those two things back to back within, like, a few days of each other was actually, like, kind of captured the spirit of the whole experience that I had with those guys.
Yeah.
And, like, getting to see a band cover them and cover The Academy Is and all that. Like, that, I thought that was, like, I mean, I had a really great time. So. Nice. Thanks for inviting me out for that.
You're welcome. And I promise you it will never happen again. Because I broke it up. Well, there's been... I don't know if this is going to go in the edit, but I can talk about whatever I want.
Off the record.
This is off the record, but it's also on the record because I'm not editing this. I'm not editing the stream, so like whatever. They announced like the new members that are taking over as Taking Back Emo. So there's like a new group of guys that'll be doing all the songs.
Cool.
They're booked at a few places.
Are they looking for a bass player?
No, they have that. Also, no, don't.
Don't do that.
No, they did like a quick video and people kind of like freaked out that there was this whole new band and they're like, wait, you just replaced all the members and kept the name? And they're like, yeah. And it's like, oh, I thought you would just like change the name if you were going to change all the
like
members.
Leonard
and they're like,
Skinner or
why?
Earth, Wind & Fire.
Oh my god.
Like,
yeah.
Not too many dudes left.
It was very like, I mean, I don't think that's how I would do it, but I also am the one that left the band, so it's not my decision, and I wish them well. I wish everybody well for doing the project.
It's what comes with ending a band, you know?
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Like, it was a little weird for me, like when The Academy was ending, like William kept going, you know, like he kept playing our songs, he played them with other people, and like I was a little salty about it, and then at a certain point I was just kind of like, oh, well, he like has a daughter, and like whatever he needs to do to like make sure that she has like food in the fridge. I don't care about like that's really all that matters, you know. Like so, like I don't care if I mean, if he wanted me to play bass, he could have called. You know, it's all good.
If you need me,
if you need me, the original person in your band.
Yeah. Peter says, I actually listened to The Academy Is. I liked it a lot. So. Your old band has a new fan.
Awesome, man.
Love it.
Always making new fans. That's what it's all about.
And I'm just here for some spicy takes while I attempt to re-drunk my chicken. He was cooking his chicken with beer yesterday.
Oh.
And he was like, I'm sober. My chicken is drunk. So, you know.
Okay. Canned chicken's like my favorite. That's the good stuff.
Do you have a recipe for your favorite beer can chicken?
I do, actually. I am not good at making it, though. My my stepfather is very good at it.
Yeah.
And... it's tough. I quit drinking 2 years ago, so I'd have to have somebody drink the beer or like a mug root beer chicken.
Mug root beer. Yeah. I guess we'll just start talking about just general shit and just like kind of get into whatever comes up. You and I met, and this is you know what, Lizzie, you want to talk shit about Apple products?
Shut up.
We met because I worked at the Apple store in Deer Park. And him and his...
my overbearing mother.
Yeah, your overbearing mother was like, oh, you play music? My son's in a band. Have you heard of The Academy Is? And I'm just like in the back of the store just like, what? Yeah, I have.
Excuse me, ma'am,
so we like
yes.
talked for like, 30, 45 minutes and just like chat about stuff. And then like, we did the DJ night for Halloween 2017, I think. Whenever that was. It wasn't last year.
Years go by fast.
Years go by. Fucking yeah.
I think it was 17.
Yeah. Right. And then here we are. Just, buds.
Love it. Yeah, man. It's awesome. And I remembered you right away when you mentioned that, too.
Because I was like, I look completely different. He's not going to know who the fuck I am.
I remember the embarrassment I felt. Because my mom would definitely do stuff like that a lot. And, like, inherently I didn't like it. But then I would always end up talking to people, which I do like to do. Like, I've always been kind of an open book when it comes to, like, I mean, especially when it comes to the music stuff. Like, people coming up and saying, I like your band. I've never been a person who's like responded to that with like, cool, now go away. You know, like,
I don't think you can.
It's like, I don't know. I mean, I remember going to see bands that I liked growing up, and if like if like Rivers or Billy Corgan or somebody had like stopped to talk to me, it would have it would have helped me a lot in my years of pain and personal anguish I was going through.
True.
I just don't think Billy Corgan would really want to talk to anyone.
Well, he was nice to me later on. But
okay, that's good.
But I actually really like that guy, despite what anyone says about him. But like, I understand that he's also kind of a raging prick, too, so it's all good. But like, I don't know, man. It's when it comes to like being one of my, I think looking back on it now, especially like looking at being in a band, like the thing I miss the most is being able to have an impact on people and to like, I don't know, be nice to somebody outside of my bus, like that was really like the best part of that entire like decade of my life was being able to like meet a kid and like surprise him by being friendly. Like that's kind of cool. Like now, I mean, 10 years removed from the band, it's like it's weird if I'm talking to some kid outside of a bus, so it's
like, who is this man?
Right. Yeah, because now like I don't know if you get more recognized from like outside of shows than you would from like inside of a show. Like, because are you well now that you're on tour with Carly Rae Jepson, for viewers, just in case you don't know.
He was there when she got her legendary sword at Lollapalooza.
I've been there now for 6 years.
Yeah, so I mean, now you're getting recognized for like that, but
sort of. I'm actually not really recognized for that. I would say that at the Carly shows, I'm really pleased with the amount of people who do come out to say hi to me that are either new fans of Academy, like our new fan that we've made here. What's his name again? Peter. Hey, Peter. And which is always cool. There's people that come up at the Carly shows and say, I checked out your band. It's a shame you guys broke up. I would have loved to have seen it.
Yeah.
And that's always cool. But then there's also like, I'll be playing shows with Carly and I'll look out and I'll recognize fans from that era. And that's always a really cool thing.
Yeah, that's neat. Yeah. So I felt really creepy, but there was also like Tim McIlrath from Rise Against.
Yeah.
And then I don't know his name, but he's like the bassist of Anthrax, lives in that area too. And so like they would come in and people would always be like, "Hey, that's the bassist from Anthrax."
Oh, really?
And I'm like, "Hey, I don't know one song by Anthrax except for that Public Enemy song."
The Butcher, the drummer from Academy, when we were in like the whole time we were in the band, he had this girlfriend who he met on Warped Tour 2006, and she was Kevin Lyman's yoga instructor.
Wow. Oh, that's...
And she was really hot and, like, old. But we were, like, 20.
Yeah.
He was probably, like, 22 or 23. His girlfriend was, like, pushing 40. And, like, definitely that babe. And,
live your life.
And she had been previously married to Scott Ian, I think he was the singer of Anthrax.
Yeah, he is the singer.
He's in the Damn Things.
Yeah, he is the singer of Anthrax.
And he had been married to that chick, the older chick that Butcher dated for years, and like,
damn,
Butcher like lived in like a house that was like paid for by Anthrax.
That's wild. Just have like that flex on. Just imagine having that flex. Just like you go to an Anthrax show and you see him and you're like, you don't fucking know this, but I'm living in your house.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
It was funny when Troman started playing in the Damn Things with him. It was like, oh yeah, small world, But now I'm sharing everybody else's personal information. Yeah.
Well, even like I used to work at the Pete's Coffee out in Naperville, and when I covered the one in Downers Grove, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, some of the guys from Rise Against just casually come in here and hang out."
Yeah.
And I was like,
I used to see Tim at Woodfield Mall with pushing a baby stroller. That kid's probably like a teenager now.
Yeah.
Yikes. I mean, I did make a salted caramel soy mocha for Tim Higginson when I worked at the Starbucks in Oak Brook Mall.
Tom Higginson.
Tom, yeah. I'm getting mixed up. But I made it, and I was freaking out the entire time.
It took me 5 seconds to think of who that was. It wasn't even like a real, like, immediate
We're
reaction.
saying Tim too much, and I was like, oh, another T. It was Tom Higginson. I was freaking out, and my shift supervisor wouldn't let me freak out about it. She was like, just make the goddamn soy salted caramel mocha with whip.
They would give me time to, like, talk to people. Like, every time Tim McIlrath would come in, they'd be like, do you want to help him? I'm like, yes, I do.
For sure. That guy's very nice, too.
He's super nice. And
nice.
He felt a little bit more like I don't really want to be recognized. I'm just trying to do my thing. And he had his daughter with him, so I was like, I don't want to be creepy. I'm just like, I'm gonna help you. Like I'm a fan, but like yeah, we'll just like get through this, and I'm just standing there just like and that was back when I was like doing original music stuff too, so it's like you always have that thing in the back of your head where I'm like, do I hand him a mixtape? I don't have a mixtape.
Do I tell him check out my band on MySpace?
Do I make a mixtape?
I remember seeing Matt Skiba at Woodfield Mall and just like,
oh my god,
crying.
Yeah,
like, it was like Bill Beckett and I like were just like eating at Sbarro Pizza at the mall, and we saw Matt Skiba walking by with a skateboard, and we like just shit ourselves.
You'd be like, fuck this Sbarro's. Matt Skiba's over there.
Nah, I love Sbarro's.
Yeah, Sbarro's so good. I fuck with that garlic bread they have real hard.
Chili, baby.
Ooh.
It's like when I'm at Woodfield, I'm like, is this what I want? This is what I want.
It is what you want.
That's what I go there for.
They have a whole new fucking food court in there now.
I know. I went.
It's
they have a whole
insane.
ass organic fast food thing there.
It is
They have a
massive.
stand.
During like the height of Academy's popularity, I would come home from tour and be really lonely because it was a kind of a roller coaster of like being on the road and like talking to that kid outside the bus and like getting to have that, and then coming back and like being 18 in the suburbs and like having my mom pissed and telling me to clean my room, and like it was a weird thing, and like I would just get in the car and like I was just learning how to drive still, and like would just drive to Woodfield Mall and like and do nothing. I wouldn't buy anything. I would just walk around.
That was just the spot.
And,
that's
like,
Suburbia 101.
And it was cool because like kids would know who I was, which was a weird, shocking thing, especially if I'd go with Bill Beckett. Like girls would go wild.
Of course.
And like it was cool. It was that was a very interesting time in my life. And like Woodfield Mall was always like the place I could go to like feel like a normal kid. You know, it was fun.
It was because I think I'm probably like a couple years younger than you.
How old are you?
I'm 32.
I'm 31, man.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Wow, you're still my old decrepit man.
Fucking shit.
Yeah, man, I got started early.
Anyway.
I got started early.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so I started hanging out at Woodfield because I'm like, this is where all of the local suburb emo kids go to stunt.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I'm going to stunt on them so hard, I'm going to get a job at Hot Topic.
Stop.
And then I started working at the Hot Topic there, and I was like, shit. I made the mistake of getting a retail job at the place where I hang out, hating it, and then just meeting like a bunch of like emo scene kids that then would like, oh, you want to go to the show? And I'm like, yeah. And then I was go to the shows all the time.
I remember meeting Patrick Stump at Sam Goody.
Holy
he
shit.
worked there at not Woodfield, at Old Orchard, I think it was, somewhere out north out there.
Yeah, that's Skokie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds about
Old
right.
Orchard, but inside, so I don't know. My memory's a little hazy on it, but I met him there, and like I just remember as the band was coming up, like thinking about the fact that like I mean a lot of people called our band and our genre like mall music, and like I think at the time I felt offended by that, but now looking back on it and like meeting like Patrick at the mall and like going to like Hot Topic and with those guys or my band and everything, like it really was kind of like I mean Woodfield Mall is like a oasis of like culture in an area that is not cultured, and like, and
there's nothing
in
there.
like the post mall rats world, like it was a cool place to go.
Yeah,
it was the coolest place that I knew. You know, like the city doesn't really have that now that I'm an adult. I mean, I guess it does, and it's like certain hangouts, Parsons or something, and I don't go there. You know, so
I remember like I would always want to come to the city and hang out at like Belmont and Clark, where all like the thrift stores were, and that was like where all the hipster kids were hanging out. So I'd always be like, "Ma'am, can you drive me to the city to go and hang out at the alley?" And what was the other one? The like 4-story like Army surplus store.
Right.
Why are you looking at me asking?
Yeah,
I was like 9 years
Belmont.
old.
I know what you're
Jesus
talking
Christ.
about. The Fall Out Boys were like the first guys that I knew that like had any access to the city.
Is that, do you refer to them as the Fall Out Boys?
No,
that's real dad rock of you right now.
I do refer to them as that, as a collective, and like those were the first guys I ever knew that like had cars or apartments. Like looking back on it, they were like total dorks that lived with their parents. But like for me, when I was 15, it was like you guys are like grown-ups. You know, like they had an apartment in Roscoe Village, and like. They had parties, and like it was amazing to be invited to parties with people in their 20s, you know, and like and the Pick Me Up Cafe was like their hangout every night, and like I would go there, and it was just like I felt like I had entered like Greenwich Village in like 1961, you know, or something like that. Like,
damn.
It felt like I was somewhere really cool, even though like I was hanging out with a bunch of guys that live in their parents' houses.
Yeah.
But, like, or, you know, like
eating vegan treats.
Yeah, but it was Chicago's great. That was a great time period.
Black Rose Season says, yeah, they had an apartment with some dude living in the closet.
Yeah, John Regan.
We know who this man makes his name is now.
Truman lived in the closet for a while too.
Jesus.
Did they rotate? It sounds like they did.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. I'm glad they each, gave each other a turn.
I don't think Truman paid rent there. I think he was still like living at home and just kind of crashed there. But it was crazy. They had like root beer keggers and stuff like that.
Wow,
they were
love
still
that.
very much like a straight edge hardcore band, and at that point in time, and yeah, I remember like getting grounded for like disappearing to the city for a period of time, and like looking back on it, I'm sure my mother was like, now she's really glad that I was doing that, like just based on the experiences that followed. But
yeah,
but it was a little bit of a crazy moment. Even that whole time period, like the punk rock scene was not the emo scene that it became. It was not necessarily like a safe space. Like I was hanging out a lot in like Roselle under this overpass with like people that were doing cocaine and like and then also straight edge people. Like there was like a weird hangout of like anyone that was kind of a punk was there.
Yeah.
One
guy's just more awake than everybody else.
Yeah. One dude just is. Yeah. One dude's like super hyped and like ready to like beat up a wall when you're like, okay, let's not do that, my guy.
I was glad that I was on like the side of the tracks that had like the straight edge kids and like for a lot of high school kids, that's when people started kind of going off the rails, like partying. I do think music was one of the things, and those guys in particular kind of like were really good influence on me in a lot of ways, So music kind of was like my boys and girls club of like, those guys like mentored me, and like I got really into like putting X's on my hands, and, like, even though like I definitely like didn't even know where to begin looking for drugs. I knew that I wouldn't if I could.
That's a mood.
Yeah.
I find it so interesting though, is that at least when I was in high school, like 7 years ago. Yeah, seven,
Jesus
8.
Christ.
Sorry, you're old.
Everything you say is attacking.
Even when I was in high school, straight edge, I'd be like, yeah, I'm straight edge. And they'd be like, I don't know what that is. Here's a beard. I'm like, that's just not it, my guy.
Exactly the opposite.
And then now I see so many more straight edge kids coming out of the woodwork. And I'm like, where the fuck were you?
Where were you guys?
Where were you when I needed you?
Yeah. I was, this is it's a weird sentence to say. I was one of 3 straight edge kids in my college fraternity.
You were in a fraternity?
Yeah, like it's just a weird fucking sentence.
Why are you in a fraternity?
I don't know.
What really compelled you to do this?
A group of friends, basically. I went to college and knew one other person, and then just met like a bunch of other people that were all into the same stuff. Like me and a couple other guys drove to see Alkaline Trio and Rise Against at the Congress one year. Like we went to Taste of Chaos with like Thrice and Deftones, like with another group. Like it was just like a bunch of kids that were just like, oh, let's just get together and do this. And then you like read all the fraternity shit and you're like, yeah, it wasn't like that. Like for me, like we were the weird kids who just like, we had a rule against playing Magic the Gathering in our lounge areas because
that's probably a good rule.
Usually we were trying to play like Super Smash Brothers in the lounge. So it's like you're interrupting like our time for
You're
Smash
interrupting
Brothers.
a significantly more superior game.
Yeah,
Thank
I'm trying
you.
to set up my GameCube out here. Like, please move your cards off the table.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, lately I've been like, it's been just about 2 years since I've had alcohol, and like I've reconnected with the part of me that really enjoyed not straight edge culture, but like I'm kind of like a Puritan when it comes to alcohol now, and like I try not to be preachy, just like I didn't like people that were preachy back then, but like I'm starting to enjoy the music that I liked then all over again. Like I'm finding I like heavier music, and like not necessarily hardcore, but like I've gotten really into like Strike Anywhere again, and like Fucked Up, and those like I've been like the part of me that like doesn't like to drink alcohol and identify with straight edge. I'm actually like finding that in music again, a little bit more of like a political undertones, and like Boy Sets Fire was like my favorite band when I was like 15, and it was like a very like the singer was like a gay straight edge guy, and it was like really
that's
like,
cool,
politically charged, and like I was very like, I mean, when I was 15, like right when the band started, I my father passed away from doing drugs, and like it was like a brutal thing to go through. So I was like very, very opinionated about not doing drugs. And I remember going to the apartment that William and Mike from Academy were living in, and a cloud of weed smoke came out, and I remember like wanting to quit the band immediately. Wow. And then like by the end of that summer, I was really stoned and eating Hot Pockets. But there was a good moment that I was like very, very adamant about not drinking or taking any sort of drug.
Damn.
But yeah, not anymore.
How do you feel though about how even modern bands now, like either they're punk or emo or whatever we want to classify it as, how either apolitical or political that they are in their music now? Comparatively,
I mean, these days, like, I like to get my politics from books, not even the news. You know, like I like to, like I was saying, I think before we were on, like I like to study things that like happened 15 years ago and no sooner. You know, like I like to let things kind of gestate because you can kind of look at them a little more like clearly. You know, you can see the result of what happened. Like the war in Iraq is like just now becoming something we can really look at and understand like what happened. You know, and with as far as politics go, like I mean, it's just got to be good, you know. Like Strike Anywhere was like a really political band, but I don't even know that that's what I liked about them. I just liked the way that they sounded, and I don't really think I cared for like overtly political punk. Like, to be honest with you, I never really liked American punk music very much. Like, I didn't grow up on Rancid or any of those bands. I got into them later on. But I really like the British punk, and like that stuff got political at times, but it also like Mick Jones and the Clash like wrote songs about girls, you know, like and that's what I always liked, was just like songs about girls. Still to this day, that's like what I want to listen to. And I like political music, but not when it's like, I mean, I worked a show in Vermont selling merch. I used to work at a venue up there, and I sold merch for Billy Bragg, who's like considered like a great political writer, and like to be honest with you, I thought it sucked, and like I met him and spoke to him afterwards, and he was a total jerk. And like you can go on there and like talk about like working for the man or whatever, but like I don't know, man. Like it's sometimes contrived. Yeah. So for me, it's just like I don't know. I like the way like I like Fall Out Boy better now than I did like back then. Even like songs about girls, man. I like it.
It hits you differently. Like I think that what's really interesting to me looking back at like the music movements, like when political movements were happening. This is based on like something we talked a couple episodes ago. Gerard Way was saying that he doesn't think My Chemical Romance was necessary after Obama was elected. It just wasn't like the same mood in the country anymore. Yeah. And he was writing really depressing music about life and love and all this stuff. And then it's like, well, we don't need that anymore. That's not what the music needs to be. And I think about how like Fall Out Boy and Panic and all these bands like grew so big at the same time. Hawthorne Heights being on TRL and shit. And it's like, but why do we need Hawthorne Heights right now? Because I didn't need Hawthorne Heights at the time, and I still don't think I do. But
you be quiet.
I don't need them. But I kind of see the same thing where it's like, yeah, it died out after 2008 when people tended to feel more like, oh, things are happening that I wanted to happen. I don't feel the same sort of like anger and disillusionment that I did when this music was getting really big, and then all the music kind of changed. And I think. I didn't really listen to a ton of Academy Years after 2008. It was mostly like Santi.
I don't think we made anything after 2008.
Yeah, it was like
that's a great time to stop listening.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, yeah, because I remember Barrington High was. Yeah. That was the.
Yeah, I didn't really like that record.
Oh well. Yeah. I'll say whatever I want to say about it. So cool.
Yeah, that's a whole different can of worms. Yeah. Yeah, it's like the interesting thing with Academy was like when we started. Our second practice I think we ever had, we were like kind of just writing our first songs, the ones that we would have been playing at like Nights of Columbus, and like we put on like we had like a demo that we put out in 2003, and like when we were writing those songs, like there was like an old TV on in the background, and it was on mute, and our first practice ever was on March 4th, 2003. I remember because it was my brother's 18th birthday. It's also Kazimierz Pulaski Day, so if you're Polish in Chicago, you know what's up. But we were out in the burbs, and I think our second practice, I skipped to go to a Big D and the Kids Table show at the Fireside, and I almost got fired from the band right away for skipping. So like around, I'd have to look at the date, but my memory serves, the second practice we ever had when we first really started like writing songs and kind of talking about what the sound was going to be. We had the TV on mute, but we were bombing Baghdad, and that night, that Operation Iraqi Freedom, I think is what they were calling it, the night that began was kind of the night that the Academy Is began. And I think that we initially had like a political edge, and we had this whole thing. I was going to scream in the band. And like I was kind of all right at it too. I would take that like tuxedo vocal spray or whatever and like really go for it.
Yeah.
And like I could do it. And like I was like we were kind of wanting to be that.
Yeah.
And I think pretty quickly we abandoned that idea. But what's interesting to me is like I remember that so vividly, and like the war starting and like friends from high school like going off to like fight. I don't really know anyone that died, but I know like people went over to Afghanistan and Iraq, and I went on tour. And it's a weird thing for me because between like 2004 and 2010, like I don't know what happened. I really don't.
Yeah.
Like phones weren't really such a thing. Like I wasn't waking up and reading the news. I was in a parking lot talking to other bands and hanging out, and in many ways it was like the best time of my life. But as far as like politics go, anything like that, like, I mean, I remember when Obama was elected, and like I didn't vote. I was on tour, and I didn't even know how to do an absentee ballot. And like, like looking back on that, like, sure, it would have been great to vote. I knew who I was for, but everything that happened in those years, like I totally was just on a bus, like Yellow Submarine kind of vibe. Like I was gone, man. Like I really don't, like, friends got married. I wasn't there.
Yeah.
Like a lot happened and I was just gone. And I'm kind of grateful for that. I feel like those years, like, I didn't really know anything. Like,
you got to just sort of shut off.
It's been like a reconnecting in the years since the band ended, of like just kind of like joining with the real world a little bit.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Like I didn't even think, because I was just so jealous that everybody had a sidekick and I couldn't get one because I wasn't on T-Mobile. It was the band phone. Like everybody who was in a band was using a T-Mobile sidekick because everybody had to be on MySpace all the time. It was the only phone that had a
T-Mobile
MySpace
sidekick
app.
was amazing. Like Pete Wentz was the first guy I ever knew that had one, and like I immediately had to get one.
Yeah.
It was the first phone I ever had, and I even had the D Wade. Like the Dwayne Wade edition.
Oh my god!
Jesus.
But like the sidekick, like was just like basically like I could take AOL Messenger with me, and like for like an emo dude in that era, like the sidekick was just for talking to chicks. Like I didn't look at the news or anything. I didn't even really surf the web or anything.
Yeah.
It was like talking to other bands for one, like which was a huge thing. But like and like meeting bands that like we hadn't ever met before. Like I remember talking to like the guys from like Steve from Punchline on AOL and being like, your band's good, let's do a show. And then we did it, like, or like there was We the People Records, and like I remember like meeting a lot of people on the internet, and that was like the new medium, and purevolume.com and like things like that, like but yeah, the sidekick was really like a portal for like talking to babes, and and like it's funny now looking back with like the Me Too stuff, because like our band like was really like, at least then, at least from my own perspective, I can't speak for everybody in the band. But
Adam Siska's the only one being interviewed right now.
Yeah, Adam Siska's, this is his only perspective.
But like the emo thing kind of like had this like be a really nice guy mentality. And like I remember like the competition was like who can be the nicest to girls. Like it really was like, and I know that didn't go for everybody, but for me it was like I was definitely the crying shoulder for like everyone in like the 630-847 area code.
Like, oh yeah,
yeah, like don't worry, like he's a jerk. Do you like me? No, okay. I have a record. Do you like me now? Still no. Crap,
Actually,
at least you weren't like, oh, now I'm friend zoned.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
That's the good thing.
I was very friend zoned. I was definitely in the friend zone.
So tragic.
I'm gonna read a couple comments. I thought you said Nick Jonas at first, and I got so confused. We can talk about Nick Jonas.
I mean, I love Nick Jonas. Listen.
Really nice guy. I've met him a couple of times.
Nicole12355 asks, I got a question. Which tour was your favorite that you've done? I went to lots of the tours in high school, LOL. And she also said that she went to high school 7 years ago, too, so.
What's up? Are you 24, 23, or 25?
Okay. Wow. Way to know all the like possible high school ages.
I mean, I have friends all in that area, plus you.
Fair.
My outlier.
My favorite tour I ever did? I look at 2004 as like one long tour. And that was kind of like Almost Here coming out.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the most fun I ever had touring because we were in a van, which, you know, doesn't necessarily like sound as fun because it was a lot of more work. Mm. But I think that's what made it stand out to me in my memory. And like, we did this moment where we went on tour and like didn't come home like for like over a year. We were always on tour. Mm. And looking back at the laminates from that era, like we opened up for Lucky Boys Confusion, which was like kind of a mediocre tour, but we went right into Motion City Soundtrack, which is when things started to we went right into Armor for Sleep. So we opened Snaked Across the Crown, very underrated band. I loved them. This band called Number One Fan from Wisconsin, and then Armor for Sleep. And tour was awesome, and then we went right into Motion City Soundtrack, Limbeck, and Tsunami Bomb. That was awesome. And from that tour on is when we started to like gain traction. We didn't have a record out, but like people were starting to like talk about it, and we went right from that into this like Christmas tour with Fall Out Boy, Midtown, and Gym Class Heroes. It was only like 4 days, and then we went right from that into Something Corporate. And after the Something Corporate tour, like it was on. Like people were coming out. The record came out on that tour. We went right from that into the Fueled by Ramen and Friends tour with Fall Out Boy. And that, I would have to say, definitively was like my favorite tour we did, just because Fall Out Boy, that was their first tour on a bus. They had just, like, at the end of that tour, Cork Tree came out, so, like, things were getting big.
Yeah.
And it was like we were doing what we always did with friends from the suburbs of Chicago, but it started to feel like it was becoming, like, dreams were coming true. You know? So that whole run, I know I just said a lot of things, but like that run, it was a crazy moment where like...
My favorite tour was the year 2004.
Yeah. Into 2005 too, because we kept doing it. We did, that summer we did Warped a little bit. We did All American Rejects that fall. It was awesome. And then we did our first headlining tour, which was amazing.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Well, there you go. And Nicole is 24 years old.
What's up? Me too.
I don't know anyone who's 24 years old.
No, you know me now.
No, one person.
You know me now.
Yeah, if anybody else has any questions, I'll ask them for now.
Sweet.
That was the only one that I saw. Yeah, so ask some questions, guys. Nicole also says, the Academy is and Armor for Sleep were my favorite bands. I missed one show in high school, was with TAI and Armor for Sleep. I missed it for a chorus concert. I got an A, though.
That's great.
I mean, that's good. That's more important.
That was 2007. Sleeping with Giants tour. That was a really good tour. That was the longest tour we ever did. It was like 65 dates, which like is a lot of tour dates. And we had like there's 2 legs of it with a week off in between for Bill's daughter to be born.
Wow.
And then we went right back out. Like,
wow.
We toured a lot.
Yeah.
So it was crazy.
A lot of hustle.
Yeah.
You are, I guess, kind of, we have some people that listen to this, I assume, for more like music business end of things and like understanding like how to get a career. So obviously I think that when, you know, a lot of the bands, especially in Chicago with Fall Out Boy and Fueled by Ramen and picking up a lot of that, and then Pete starting to cadence and picking up bands that he liked or he knew to be on that. Obviously, that helps to get a record deal and to get on the road and to get what you need to do it.
Yeah.
I don't think the environment is still the same at all in a way.
Very different.
Yeah. So I mean, what do you think now if like somebody's like a band starting out and they don't have connections? Like, do you think there's any possibility for them to go anywhere? And just like reality of it is like, do you think there's a possibility?
I juggle with that, like I have a friend here who was like trying to start a band with me, and he was a talented writer and stuff like that, and it's difficult, I can't say that I would like recommend getting into it, but like at the same time, like people have to keep doing this in order for it to mean anything, and like I'm firsthand somebody who can say like dreams came true, and like at that time period in 2004, like nobody knew what to do. I mean, Napster had just come out, like they were basically saying that the music business was like over. And like, I don't think that one thing that is really unique to our particular little scene, and when I'm speaking of that, I'm not necessarily speaking of like Decadence and everything like that, more so like Knights of Columbus. And with that, I would lump in the Academy is in Fall Out Boy, and then maybe some other bands that you didn't hear about, or if you did, then you were there and you know what I'm talking about, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
But when Academy was starting, there was this band called Fairweather on Equal Vision, and I remember specifically being like, we're gonna be as big as them, and being like, no way, that's never gonna happen, and like we're like, I think we could, like we could mean anything as close to, and like most of you probably haven't heard of Fairweather or don't listen to them, like, so it was, the mindset was really small, and I don't know if that was the case for like Pete specifically in Fall Out Boy. Like I think he was a very savvy businessman from the get-go, and I think he getting into pop punk was a business decision compared to hardcore. And I think I was really lucky to be like a bystander for his brilliant agenda. And like, as much as when I was in Academy I hated to be like pigeonholed and like feel like I was riding the coattails of somebody else's success, but looking back on it now, like, yeah, 100%. And I think Almost Here was a good enough record that I do think we would have had some people listening regardless, but I think we were really lucky to ride in on that wave. And the advice that I would give, and I give this to like my buddy who wanted to start a band in Logan Square, I see bands around here that are playing, and they're playing at like bars, and for people that are spending money at the bar and not at the merch table, and they're not really even focused on giving a product to the people. And for us, like I said, it was really easy because there was already this scene that we like showed. Academy has showed up really late to the Knights of Columbus scene, and we got in just in time because we were part of ending it in a way. Like we took it with Fall Out Boy, and I think that was really it. Took it to like a national level, or like at least a regional level. We started going to play in Michigan and Minnesota and stuff like that. We were always looking for, and I can speak this because I saw Pete doing it firsthand, and those guys were really savvy. They weren't playing in the city to their friends, which they had plenty of. I didn't know who they were. They were getting me. Before I was in a band, I was a diehard Fall Out Boy fan. I was like I was their webmaster. I would go on and update the site for them. And
my God!
Because they didn't have that capability from their phones and stuff back then, and they knew that if they could get kids energized, that counted for something, because people over 25 or even over 20, they're not looking for something to believe in. They're looking on how to like pay the bills. So kids are really the place to go. And when I talk to friends and bands in Logan Square, and I go see their bands play, and they're playing to like people that like have jobs and are paying or drinking at the bar, or like paying the Coke dealer or whatever, like those are not who you want to get to listen to your band. I always say like burn like 1,000 CDs, find like your cousin who goes to like Lane Tech and tell him to show it to everybody at school, and then invite those kids to like a show at like a VFW hall. Like the youth is always going to be where it's at because they're passionate and they're looking for something to believe in. As at 31, I don't believe in anything. Like I question everything. I see bands and I say, are they really good? I don't really know. It's a different thing. As a kid, I would have died for the bands I believed in. And I really do. I think that's really the avenue to go down. For Academy, when we came out, we made 2 songs. We always give your music out for free. And I know that's different now with digital because everything's free, but like, and maybe don't give a hard copy, but like put your lyrics out there, give people stickers, build your street team, build a culture. With Academy, before we even had more than 2 songs, we started building a brand, and other bands hated us because we came in more confident than they did, and we stole their audience. They did all the groundwork, and we came in and like just milked it all with having a brand.
I think that's so interesting because there's a lot of bands, they just start it and they're like, I'm just here for funsies, and then they eventually fall into it. From what I've noticed, especially around here. I also find it interesting how there's a lot of bands, at least in the city, who pretty much almost refuse to play suburban shows, or they just really do not want to. Like, they'll do it, but they'll complain about it. And I think that's kind of ridiculous.
That's the only place I would play if I were a band that was in my first year or 2 of playing. The city means nothing. Well, the city can mean something if you're trying to be the kings of Logan Square and play to people's coke dealers, but that's not...
I mean, some people really want that MO.
That doesn't mean anything, you know, like, and you can look down on, like, mall music or whatever you call it, but I've got a few friends that bought some really big houses and touched a lot of people's lives while they were doing it, you know, so it's, you know, you gotta go somewhere where it means something, and I really think that is where that scene succeeded. And, you know, for me, I was like on the other end of it. I was a believer. I mean, I would go to those shows every weekend, and I would make my own flyers for those shows on like the paint thing on like my crappy old computer. And I would tell everyone to come to the Fall Out Boy show. When those Knights of Columbus shows were happening, I think at least 40% of the crowd were kids from Barrington that I told to go. And like, what's amazing is like John Janik from Fueled by Ramen flew in to see Fall Out Boy, and he went to Knights of Columbus, and there was only 300 people there, but they were going absolutely insane and singing every word. That matters more than playing at a big venue in the city that's empty. You know, like
I don't understand why bands get obsessed with like, I want to be at House of Blues, I want to be at all these giant venues like the Metro. Like, yeah, sure, you can rent out the Metro, and it's like what, a 1,500 cap venue.
We used to play the Metro, and it would be free.
Yeah,
it would be a thing where we would print out tickets, and they would tally who brought in the most people, and they would get paid accordingly. And it was like a showcase, and that was it. And then other than that, I mean, the only paying shows we ever did were at teen centers and Knights of Columbus, stuff like that, and it was amazing. I mean, the fact that even existed is beyond me, and I don't know if that still exists, but it should. Because, like I said before, like it was really like my Boys and Girls Club. Like I was heading down a really weird path as a kid, and like my father passed away, and it was getting weird. And as soon as I went to Knights of Columbus, it clicked, and I knew exactly what I needed to do. And it wasn't necessarily that I was even going to be in a band, because I didn't even know how to play bass, you know. But like I knew that I just wanted to get as close to that as possible, and with that, I would say a record label isn't looking for good songs. They're looking for a good culture. Because somebody like John Janik, you know, that guy from Fueled by Ramen who flew in and, like, slept on somebody's couch and signed Academy, has signed Fall Out Boy, signed August Premier, was the first band he signed. He's the president of Interscope now. And, like, he's the guy. You know? And I can tell you firsthand, like, I mean, it may have changed a little for him. He's looking for hits, but like beyond hits, he's looking for somebody that can like move the cultural compass a little bit, you know. And Fall Out Boy really was that. I think Fall Out Boy and bands like that, and Taking Back Sunday before them, and really saved the music business. I think the music business did not know what to do, and emo came out with this new way of connecting with people, and that's what hip-hop is now. I mean, emo kind of got a lot of its idea from hip-hop too, like, or not even hip-hop, but like even like Sun Records and like the old country stuff, like driving around in like an old Buick and like selling records out of your car. Like that was it. And, like talk to your audience, play your show, and stop partying. For one, stop drinking and partying. Go talk to people. Stop talking to girls after your show. Stop trying to impress people. talk to people, try to make a difference in your community, because those are the people that are going to ultimately believe in your band. You know?
I think it's also that, like, right now, at least in the burbs, I think there's only one place that actually puts on pop punk shows anymore.
I think
and it's in downtown Downers Grove. A lot of that
is kind of stopped.
We used to go. There were shows at the church basement in Downers Grove.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Downers Grove, Rise Against, Divide by Zero, and the opener was Fall Out Boy.
I really was truly born too late.
Yeah, you were.
I really missed like the main part where I would have thrived.
Being born at the right time and then not going to any of it, and then going, oh yeah, I really like that. I in high school, I was friends, and I think you know, like Jack Marin from Oktoberfall.
I do, yeah. I haven't
so I was
seen
friends
him
with Jack a little bit in high school. I was friends of friends and all that. And then Oktoberfall started to get big because they had known Fall Out Boy too. And I think I don't know the whole scene because I wasn't really super involved with it. And then all of a sudden, like, they blew up, and I was like, well, I like metal, and I fucking hate all this shit, and I'm going to be so edgy and angry all the time. And now I look back and I go, fuck, I really missed out, like, being like an edgelord and trying to be like, I fucking hate all of it, I'm gonna go, and like I got nowhere.
Yikes.
I only went to like, what was that? I saw like Evanescence in high school.
I mean,
like,
I love
that was, like,
Evanescence,
my shit, like, at
so
the time. So I'm like that's just it wasn't my scene at the time. And now I look back and I go, these records are good, I enjoy them, like I'm singing along to them in my car now, and I'm like, man, I really fucked up not going to this. The only bands that I saw at Knights of Columbus were Bury Your Dead and Walls of Jericho was one show, and I was like, I am not ready to be at this fucking hardcore show.
I hope, did you get beaten up?
No, I stood off to the side far enough where nobody would hit me.
You knew.
There was a few hardcore things I was into, but it was a brief moment for me. Like, I was never angry enough to get into it. Like,
what made you so angry, Brian?
Just, hating people that were popular and mainstream, and
so edgy.
Just wanted to wear guy liner. And then, like, I finally figured out, like, because all, like, my junior year of high school, like, all the girls were like, you look like Pete Wentz, and I was like, no, I don't. Like, I don't look anything like Pete Wentz. But it was just like I was one of the only like emo kids at the time, and then everybody started to get into the Used and all the other bands that were like more heavy, I think, at that time.
Heavier, yeah.
Yeah, like the screaming bands were more like around, like everybody was into those bands.
It was weird. Like, all my friends in high school got really into like that scene, and then as soon as I was in a band that like got any sort of clout in the scene, I never saw any of those people again. They I think there was some animosity or something. I don't know. I think everyone wanted to get into it, and I was not. I was not particularly like talented, and I think that maybe upset people because it
probably.
Was it was. Like,
I was also friends with a lot of musicians, and like I had a band that was like. Looking back at it, you're like, our songs weren't good. We had no dedication to it. Everybody wanted to do other things. Like, it wasn't your first priority. And then even when I try to make it my priority, it's like trying to drag 4 other people along with you is like always going to be the thing. So in high school, it was like when all this stuff was happening, it's like, this could be me if I just put in that time a little bit more and the right way. And then it was like, yeah, but now the ship has sailed. Like, the wave is gone, and you weren't on it.
It's amazing how it happens. I mean, I'd kill to like get involved in some great scene and get to do it all over again. Like, if I knew then what I knew now, like, I mean, I always say, like, I wish that I could put out Almost Here now. You know, like, I would know what to do with it. At the time, it was just like, I had no idea what to do. I mean, I had a lot of problems. I was a weird kid. Like, I don't know. It's you don't get to do things twice.
That's the unfortunate.
Sometimes thing. You do, but yeah.
I'll ask a couple questions here. Black Rose Season asks, favorite the Academy's song. This will be a long pause as we get time.
I mean, I think I kind of like Season from Almost Here. I like that one. That was the first song we wrote for the record, and I think we knew right away that we were on to something differently, because I don't know if you've heard anything from like the EP we did before Almost Here, but like, it was pretty weird, and like people in like the local scene liked it, but like I don't know, man. It was like we were trying to be like Coheed or something like that.
Oh my God.
It was a lot more like conceptual and like a little all over the place. And like Season, we ripped off Queens of the Stone Age a little bit. It had this kind of like on the toms sort of groove, and like just something about like that palm muted riff. I felt like our writing progressed, and like I don't know how it did, but like it just did. And I'd have to say that song's probably my favorite. There's only one song on that record that I don't like, and it's Skeptics and True Believers.
Fair.
And we didn't like it. It's too pop punk, and if the rest of that record, you know, a lot of people look at that as a pop punk record, but like I think it's only really in the way it was recorded. It was really gritted and like really really like airtight. And if I could do it over again, it wouldn't be so like just concise. It could have loosened up a little bit, and I think that's why I don't like Skeptics and True Believers. If you listen to the chorus, it's like really like just like I don't know. I hate it.
So everybody just stop listening to it.
Yeah, people liked it. You know, there was one guy on a plane one time. He's like, "I love your band, Skeptics and True Believers." I was like, "Ooh."
Like,
You're like, ooh.
And then, you know, I like the Santi record. Like, people liked that record too. Like, the narrative behind it is that it was kind of like the Pinkerton or whatever like that. Only I think people love Pinkerton a lot more than they love Santi because it's way better. But like, but there was definitely this weird like shift after that record came out, and like in the end, I'm proud of it because at that point in time, like the scene had gotten so big, and everyone wanted another Fall Out Boy, and like, and we, I mean, looking back on it and like my bank account and everything, like I wouldn't have mind being in like a Fall Out Boy, you know?
Yeah.
But like we would have sold a lot more purple hoodies at Hot Topic or something. But like,
I wish I bought a purple hoodie.
There was something that I am proud of, that we like made a weird left turn, and I don't think we knew we were even doing it, but like we kind of threw out the blueprint. We made a weird like we tracked the music live on that record, and it sounds like really raw, and I don't know. We did something different, and I'm glad we did. And I don't think it's a great record. I think Almost Here, in terms of the emo scene, I think that's a great record. I don't think Santi is, but I do think it's a cool record that we made, you know. And my favorite song on that is the last song. It's called Unexpected Places, and I think we played it live like twice. I don't think anyone really liked it that much, but I liked it a lot. I thought it was good.
Nice.
I thought it was lyrically the best song on that record.
Black Rose Season says Santi is God tier.
Yeah, I don't think it was that good.
Well, stop listening. Let me see if there's some other questions here. Are we ever going to hear TII 4? I think that's a no, probably at this point. Like, you don't. I'm assuming you don't know if you're going to do anything else.
I mean, to be honest with you, there is a record that.
Never mind.
It never came out, and I don't know if I would call it a whole record, but there's songs there, and like, in a weird way, like I think when we were doing that record in 2010. It was like ahead of its time, and I remember like management being like, "There's not really a lot of guitar here. You guys are a guitar band," and we were like, "Yeah, well." It was funny when we were writing the last record. Our manager called us, and he was like, "It was the day after the Super Bowl when the Saints started the second half with an onside kick, and like just dominated Peyton Manning and the Colts, and."
All those words didn't make any sense to me.
Right. It was a big sports moment.
A big sports ball moment went down.
Yeah, someone did good sports.
So some people will know what I'm talking about. But our manager called us, and he's like, "That's what you guys need. You need an unexpected onside kick. Like, you got to like do something really different this time." So we did, and we added a keyboard player, and like went for this kind of different sound. And the label didn't like it, and the management didn't like it, and then we broke up. And then that sound kind of became like
the thing
that everyone's doing now. And I don't think that what we did was as like ESPN as so much of the stuff that like everyone does now.
Yeah.
Like Imagine Dragons and stuff like that.
Yikes.
And
we can drag them on this podcast if you want to.
I think they're good. You know, I hate them, but I think they're good.
Well,
and
thanks for coming, everybody.
Yeah, I think
suddenly we all have to leave.
Good, you know, like, I mean, if I were a record label guy, I'd probably sign them. And I think that guy's really nice and smart and kind and all the above. So it's just like, you know, I just look at it from that perspective. But like that kind of thing, we were like a little bit ahead of. I think like we missed it a little bit, and if we put out that music now, I don't think it would be big for us. But I think it'd be worth people hearing. They might hate it, but
I think with the emo revival, people would be like super hyped for it either way. I think people would be like, "Oh, this doesn't sound like them," but they came out with something. I feel like they would just be happy with it.
Literally, the chat was just like, "Please drop it," like immediately.
I was think like, the fourth best record, or the fourth record that we were doing, would have been the second best record that we did. I think that we found the energy of like when it felt like we were making our first record in a way, you know, like, which was a nice place to be in. And it sucks that it went the way that it did. Like, the label didn't really like it, so they sent Bill in to do a lot of like co-writing with people. And that kind of, some of the co-writing that he did, I think became his solo record, and I didn't really like it at all. And that's kind of why the band ended. It was like, well, forget this, you know. Like, we were doing something we were passionate about, and then we were doing this, like, Bill had this song called like "Girl, You Should Have Been a Drummer" or something like that, and I hated it. And he put it out, and if he's listening to this, sorry man, I didn't like that. I don't think you did either, so it's all good. But yeah, you know, like, people do weird things in music, man. You know. Yeah. So
I think I think a lot more bands should experiment. And honestly, like, I think the musicians kind of know where the scene is going, and I sometimes wonder if, like, management and labels do. Like, I think that they want to keep it all in the same spot forever. They want to keep it just existing timelessly, and it doesn't really change. But then when music does change, like now everything is emo hip-hop, and so everybody's kind of scrambling to get somebody who does emo hip-hop on their label so they can make money off of it.
I haven't heard any of that stuff. I know that's kind of a thing.
I
honestly kind of like it.
Yeah, I bet you. I mean, I bet you it's good.
You have to like find like the right emo hip-hop, but like when you find the right one, you're like, okay, this is pretty decent.
I do like Nothing Nowhere, because like that.
No, I like Nothing Nowhere too.
Yeah, I mean, I lived in Vermont for 5 years. Yeah. I know he's from up there, and like that alone makes me interested in like.
He has a lyric repping VT like my name Bernie Sanders, and I'm like,
I love that. Immediate.
I'm into that. Let's put the record on.
How do you feel?
Record on.
Well, how do you feel about how this whole DIY culture is now? Like, everyone's like, I want to be DIY, and then you see the record labels trying to also brand as DIY when it's not what it is. How do you have any feelings or know how about that? Because it kind of is like they're trying to keep with the times, but it's also like, I mean, I think backwards.
That kind of in a nutshell is like what I was saying before, where like the label had when a band like Fall Out Boy showed up, the big head honchos in those offices in New York or wherever they were that was the luckiest day of their lives, because they were scrambling, wondering what to fucking do. And then this band shows up that says, wait, they have fans and they make a ton of money? What are we supposed to do? You know, like, that's where the label's supposed to come into play. And like the emo thing came in with this built-in audience, and like the label didn't have to do anything. You know, like the label would give like tour support to young bands. The Academy has never touched any of that. They would be like, so you need all this money. We're like, oh, no. Like, you'll see, we sell a bunch of shirts. And that was it. You know, and like that's when they were like, okay, we better find a way to make money on the shirts. And they started doing the 360 deals and stuff like that. You know, because like that was kind of it. And like, I mean, the thing that's weird is like, if I could do it all over again, I would have never gone to a major label. You know, like that was, you know, it sounded like a great idea at the time, but like the wave we were riding in on was big enough that the kids didn't really care. You know, I think that Fuel by Ramen would have been huge regardless of a major label conglomerate behind it. And Atlantic treated us well when things were going well, you know, and they stopped treating us well when things stopped. And like looking back on it, it makes perfect sense. Like we stopped making them a bunch of money.
Right, and they're like, okay, and bye.
Like, I had this really eye-opening experience where like in 2009 we did a tour where we put this band called Carolina Liar as the opener. And we had never heard of them. They were not popular in the emo scene. They sold like $10 of merch every night on our tour. And they had a radio hit that was like platinum. And we played at Roseland in New York City, which was our biggest headlining show we ever did there. It was like 3,500 or something like that. It's a big artist now selling out that room. That's an accomplishment, you know. Like that venue's gone now, but like 3,500 people came out, and the label came out, and they took Carolina Liar, the opener, out to steak dinners because they had a song at radio. And we didn't. We never had that. We had a culture. We had a ton of fans. We were selling. That band couldn't have sold out like a free show at like Empty Bottle, you know, like. And I started to see that if we weren't going to have a radio hit, we had no business being on that label, and that we kind of shot ourselves right in the ass with like signing that deal because we were angry saying the label doesn't care about us, but we weren't delivering the thing that we signed up to deliver. So, you know, the DIY thing, I mean, I would say if you're in a band, don't sign a record contract.
I think it's way less necessary now, too. Like, I feel like it was the dream of 2005 was to get a record deal and, like, get all that opportunity. And, I mean, 2005, I didn't know what the fuck a record deal would do for you. Then you learn and you're like, oh, fuck, I never should have wanted that.
I mean, for us, I mean, like, they flew us out to L.A. We went out to a nice dinner. Pamela Anderson was there at the table next to us. I kid you not. And
was that a move?
Of course, you know, like,
damn.
We saw Pamela Anderson. We went to some party. Claudio from Coheed and Cambria was there.
Yeah.
And we were like, yeah, we'll sign. You know, I mean,
like we wine and dine and everything.
Yeah.
I'm here.
That's what the crazy thing was that we were done with Almost Here. The labels all liked it. I don't even think they listened to it, but they knew that it was like the new wave, you know, and they wanted in, and there was like a bidding war between Sire and Atlantic, you know, like Sire was like a Warner Brothers conglomerate kind of deal. Lava Records. It was every major label wanted us, and we went with Atlantic, and we never made royalties because they put so much money into promoting the record, and none of that promotion stuff really mattered for anything. And we made Almost Here for $9,000. We sold like, it's just shy of being a gold record, and we would have made a lot of money on that, and we didn't. So it's like the label, don't sign a record contract. You know, do that once you have nothing to lose. Yeah. Once you're in a position to tell them what you want and to control the outcome, like don't sign to a label. Build a culture. You know, put it all online. Tour. Talk to people, you know, put it all out for free, you know. Look at Chance the Rapper, you know. I mean, it's
you can
crazy.
literally put out all your music for free, grow better than you'd ever do on, like, trying to get signed to a record label.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to do anything with it. The thing is, if you make 1,000 records, you can sell all of them, even if it takes it 10 years. If the label prints 100,000 records and you only sell 1,000 of them, they're going to stop doing anything to try to sell the rest of them. They're going to go sit in a warehouse somewhere. They're going to, you know, you're going to go, they've already lost a ton of money on you. They're going to stop taking any interest at all. Whereas it might not happen right away, but if it's yours, you can keep, you know, talking to people.
Yeah.
You're going to eventually sell those, and then you can print another 1,000. You know, it's a much better business platform. So, but
cool man Andrew. Did Jimmy Page actually come to an Academy show?
He did. He did at the House of Blues in L.A. And Leor Cohen from the big shot guy that we signed the record deal with. He brought Jimmy Page with him to the House of Blues in L.A. And I was in the dressing room. Leor comes in, and he's a big shot. He was in the press this year because he was wearing a Make America Great Again hat with Kanye.
Yikes.
Great guy, though.
You can be a nice guy and have some disagreements.
He's like a rich Jewish guy, you know. Like I get it. I think he liked the embassy move. But he came in the dressing room, and I was already nervous anytime he was around. And he goes, "Hey, I want you to come meet my friend Jimmy." And I'm like, "Of course. Like, I'll be on my best behavior with anyone you want me to meet."
Yeah.
So I come over, and I'm like, "Holy shit, that's Page." You know? So I talked to him a little bit. He said some very kind of stuff that would get him canceled.
Oh, okay.
He was kind of a raunchy dude.
Yeah.
But he was really nice. He was sitting on a couch with like 7 like beautiful women surrounding him that he wasn't talking to. And like you could tell we're just like escort type, you know.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It was crazy. But sorry if you're Jimmy's wife and you're listening to this.
I can almost confidently say that she won't hear this.
She's probably listening right now.
What the fuck? I was just browsing Twitter and I hear my name.
But
browsing Twitch.
She was up on the balcony watching the show, and I was really embarrassed because like the bass lines on Almost Here are like pretty tame. Mm-hmm. And I felt pretty lame that he was watching it. And I was like, I would have practiced a lot more if I had known. To be honest with you, though, I don't really like Page's playing that much. Like, I don't really like Led Zeppelin, and people get pissed at me.
Oh, I hate Led Zeppelin.
The one song that I like is Dire Maker from House of the Holy. And I said Holly when I was a kid because I didn't know how it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was not really a big fan. I was still really starstruck. The thing that I was bummed about was that a few months later, Brendon Urie did an interview with Rolling Stone, and he was like, yeah, Jimmy Page came to see us, and that's not how it went down, man.
Oh, my God.
No.
He came to see us.
Wow.
We were first. We were the OGs.
No, we were
not
the headliners,
but he's like, well, I got to say something. Do you want to say anything nice about Brendon Urie?
Yeah, great guy. Really great guy. One of the best, actually. Panic had a huge part in the downfall of the Academy is.
Well, here we go.
Not anything they did in particular, but, you know, I've never talked about this publicly at all, so you're getting...
Spicy
insider
takes.
scoop.
Whoever these four people, if there's still four.
All you idiots that were here before and left, you didn't hear any of this.
For like a year before Panic at the Disco came out with the first record, like there was Fall Out Boy and there was The Academy Is, and the record label really loved us. We were their number 2 band, and as soon as that band showed up, we were playing in Vegas at this place called Jillian's, and this guy, Scott Nagelberg, who still manages Panic to this day, he came and he goes, there's this band I might manage and they want to meet you guys. Can they come in? And we said, of course. So they came in the dressing room and they were like really nervous. And Brendon had these like thick frame glasses on. He looked kind of like Hilary Swank in Boys Don't Cry. And Spencer was like baby fat. They were all just like really shy. Nervous, so happy to be meeting us. They liked the band, and we kind of took them under our wing. Fall Out Boy took them under their wing, and that record came out. We were in the UK, and it came out big. Like I think when Almost Here came out, it sold like 4,500 copies the first week, which is nothing by industry standards, but for a first time record we were putting out, you know, it was good. It was a good debut. Panic came out and sold 9,000 their first week. The scene had gotten bigger, and part of that was the groundwork that we had laid. You know, like Decadence was beginning with that, and also we weren't on Decadence. We were just on Fueled by Ramen.
Yeah.
And Panic came out. They were the biggest fucking band in the world by the end of the year, and we had them opening for us for a tour, and luckily the tour sold out really quick, and I didn't feel like they were blowing us out of the water by any means. In the UK, I felt it a little harder because they were really, really big there. But in America, I thought the tour was great, and they were supposed to be the opener. It was going to be them, Hello Goodbye, Acceptance, and us. And by the time the tour came, they were direct support, and probably should have been headlining. Not probably, definitely should have been headlining.
Wow.
But because the tickets had been sold out for a while, no one left. It was not like an awkward thing. But it harmed us on a creative level because everyone from management and label pivoted. And now, before Panic came out, it wasn't you need to be like this kind of Fall Out Boy thing. We were very, very different than Fall Out Boy.
Right.
Some people might not agree with that, but we were. I was there. I remember. And our whole thing was very, very different. Panic's thing was unique, but sonically, Brendon sounded a lot like Patrick.
Yeah.
And for the first time, there was this thing that we were on the outside looking in, instead of like we were this new poster child for the scene.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the scene was this eyeliner, theatrical, and the scene was all the better and all the bigger for it, but we didn't get it. And that's why we made the Santi record the way that it was, and like And, you know, that was kind of the end of our, like, trajectory. And, like, that, you know, was a painful thing to go through as a band. That being said, like, Brendon Urie is one of the kindest people I know. And every time I've hung out with him over the years, regardless of how big things were going or how bad things were going, because they had their moments where things weren't going so great. People left the band, people had drug problems, people had, you know, all the above that can go wrong in a band happened to them. And that guy has been 100% the same person since the day I met him, which is really kind, family-oriented, keeps to himself, plays video games, hangs out, nice to everybody, nice to his crew. And that's all I really look for. And the success that they're having now, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. You know, and like, you know, I tried to get the gig playing bass for them, and they wanted a girl. And damn, you know, that would have been fun.
Yeah.
But I'm proud of them. I'm proud of Brendon. And, you know, my crew with Carly Rae Jepson all works for them. So a lot of our whole Academy crew works for them too.
Wow.
And those are like some of my like best friends growing up. And like, it's a weird thing, you know, like my favorite part of being in the band was being able to employ my friends. And, you know, like, and I'm glad they still have jobs and that it's with somebody who's really nice. I mean, that guy is a class act. And you think about like the Me Too stuff. I've seen some weird stuff. Not that guy. That guy's just like hangs with his wife and dog and plays whatever that game is what the kids are into now.
Oh, that Fortnite.
He's playing Fortnite all the time on Twitch.
It used to be Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah.
You know, like back when it was the first round of that game. But I mean, that guy deserves every bit of success he has. And like, and you know, it's always easier to quit when people are saying that you're past your prime. It's embarrassing to be in a band when people are like, oh, well, that's over. And people have been saying that about Panic at the Disco until like a month ago. So, you know, I mean, I've seen stuff even like on a personal level on like Facebook, people being like, they're still a thing. And it's like, yeah, they're still a fucking
they're
thing.
Probably bigger now than they were when they first
I mean, they have like
started.
Radio hits still, like
big radio
at least
hits,
3.
I'm gonna go
tour.
so far to say that Panic at the Disco is the biggest band in the world right now.
I think that's very
I
fair.
think that's a pretty fair.
Because other bands don't sell shirts the way that they do. They don't have a culture the way that they do.
Yeah.
They don't have their
Imagine
moms
Dragons
wearing.
doesn't have it even close.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, like, I've seen what it is to be a meaningful band, and people care about that stuff. You know, this last time I went and hung out at Allstate when I bumped into you.
Yeah.
Did I meet you then too?
No, I wasn't at Allstate.
No, yeah, I was with my girlfriend.
Okay, gotcha.
So, yeah.
I tragically was in class.
Yeah. Very tragic.
I thought the crowd looked tired. At the United Center last summer and at the last Allstate one, the crowd was like rabid and crazy. And I think they've officially become so big again that they're playing to people that are just moderate fans. And it's amazing to me that like a year and a half ago they were able to sell out those places with diehards.
Yeah.
And now they're playing to like the radio crowd.
Yeah.
And like, where can it go from here? You know, it's crazy. I mean, they're way bigger than Fall Out Boy. They're way bigger than anybody else. You know, like, I mean, that Fall Out Boy Wrigley show I thought was really great. But it was... They try to... Fall Out Boy, you know, I hope I don't get myself in trouble for saying this, because I respect them for never being nostalgic and for making sure they played the new stuff and do all that. At their show, I felt like they maybe should have been a little more nostalgic. At the Panic show, I don't think they need to be.
Yeah.
And there's a difference there.
Yeah.
Brendon's younger, too. It's a different thing. It's always different when the front man plays guitar, too.
Yeah. I think I'm 4 months older than Brendon.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, man.
Look at you.
I've done nothing with my time.
Shut up.
You know, all that stuff I was saying before about them surpassing us, like, looking back at it now, I mean, it was crazy when I went out and saw, like, the album that surpassed our career, Fever, was reduced to, like, a medley. And all the fans that were there were here to see something else. And in a way, like, not that I needed, like, healing from that, but in a way it was kind of like a nice bookend on the story of, like, our two bands, because we were close. I was particularly really good friends with Ryan. And, but seeing them, like, venture on onto their own, like, they're not under Fall Out Boy's shadow or anything. Like, Brendon's talent is its own thing, and it's something that he was always meant to do, and he's a very, very savvy guy. So, I'll leave it at that. Just I have nothing but good things to say about him. At that show, when he was about to go riot on his piano, I was out by the soundboard, and he kind of looked around, and we made eye contact, and he goes, "Hey, man." And he kind of just had this moment, and he goes, "Good to see you." And that kind of sums up him. He's about to ride on a piano in an arena, but he sees an old buddy, and he's there. It's like, I like that guy. That's what were you going to say? Talk some trash?
No, dude, I love Panic at the Disco. They're definitely one of my favorite bands of all time.
Yeah, I don't want to like it. Like I said, if they never met each other or never came out, I might be flying around on a private jet. Or not. Piano, everyone makes their own destiny. But those guys kind of they did what we did to a lot of bands from the Knights of Columbus. So it's
fair.
It is what it is. You go through that. It was cool for me to get to even see all that, So as a fly on the wall, there's been a lot of cool stuff to see. Outside of even being in Academy, watching Fall Out Boy do what they did. I mean, that was pretty cool, So.
All right.
Awesome,
well, that's about 2.5 hours. Nice. Do you want to give any sort of plugs of where? I mean, obviously, if you're wandering around Chicago, people see it. But if you're got anything coming up that you want to promote for people to come and check out?
I'm playing bass for Carly Rae Jepson still. She's putting out 2 new songs tomorrow.
Nice.
I don't make any money if you'd buy them or whatever. So I think you'll like them. I think her new record's cool, and it's a step in just a different direction, and which is always cool. She's a creative person, and we didn't really touch on too much of that stuff, but she's been a really, of all the people I've gotten to play for, I actually think she's the hardest working and also the most passionate and writes the most productive. So check that out, and if you don't really care for it, maybe still even try coming out to a show sometime, because I think if you ever enjoyed any of the bands I played in, I think you'll enjoy what she does live. I think we got a really good band, and it's fun. Other than that, I just love this city in Chicago. I don't know if most of your listeners are here in the city, but
sort of back and forth depending on where we're at on Twitch.
We have somebody in Germany.
We get some people on Twitch from all over.
I'll be there in Germany in a few months. But Chicago's, I could have done this 2.5 hours just about the city. I moved away when I was 21, 22. Never wanted to come back. Moved to Vermont. Went from there to L.A. After 8 months in L.A., I really wanted Chicago back. And now that I'm back, I mean, this place is really the fuel that keeps me a happy person. It's been weird adjusting to life not always on the road.
Yeah.
Because I'm somebody, not everyone likes to tour. I love it. And Chicago has been the one thing that if I never get to go on tour again and I just am stranded here forever, I'm okay with it, So
nice.
I love this city, and I love everybody that's from here. So, well, not everybody, but
a good amount of people.
But thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah, awesome. That has been Adam Siska of The Academy Is. We have terrible outros, so we're just gonna do from all of us here at the Emo Social Club podcast. I'm Brian.
I'm Lizzie.
And goodbye. Just fucking weird.
You want me to give you a little?
Yeah, you can. You can do a.
Yeah.
Hi, it's me, Sisky Business, and you're listening to the Emo Social Club podcast. Bye.